like to introduce you to my grandmother, Beatrice Greenberg. Everybody knew her as Mrs. G. I always called her Mama. She was a local celebrity. She was also a pioneer woman business owner, started the business in 1935. And she loved the community that she was in. But how did she become so famous? She just owns an appliance store. But it wasn't just an ordinary appliance store. It's a community hub. Everybody shopped at Mrs. G's. Her desk was right up by the front door. And everyone who came in to the store saw Mrs. G's and she greeted everybody there. Why did they always go to Mrs. G's? Because Mrs. G thought customers first. She cared about the customer. She loved her community. And the store was vibrant. People were coming and going the store. People would come in and they would shop. And she would shop, and then other neighbors would come in. And then they would, after they were shopping for a refrigerator or a range, they would start talking about the weather, the mayor, what their families were doing. And that's what a community hub was all about. My grandmother also cared about people who were in need. There was one story after she passed. She passed when she was 96. This picture is in 1972. And a few days after she passed, I was in a very well-known pizza parlor with my children. And the owner was there. And he comes over to me and he says, "You're Mrs. G's granddaughter." And I said, "Yes, I am." And he goes, "Your grandmother was very, very special to me." He goes, I came to this country 30 years ago with no money, and your grandmother was the only one that gave me credit when I needed a refrigerator." And I heard these stories all the time. And because of those relationships with the community, and she was a very smart businesswoman, very smart merchandiser, her business grew and grew. She outperformed the competition, businesses like Crazy Eddie, and we all know Crazy Eddie, The Wiz, American Appliance. And she outperformed with a great selection, great prices. But how did she have great prices when all these other stores were chains that were coming into the area? And she started a cooperative buying group with other community appliance dealers all over New Jersey as well as Pennsylvania. And this particular cooperative buying group gave them the buying power to be able to compete with Sears, which was just right up the street, and all these other chains that were coming in as well. This particular cooperative buying group today has joined other buying groups. It's actually, the cooperative buying group that we belong to today is actually worth $15 billion in buying power. So the store thrived over the years until the Walmart effect. Now, I mentioned the cooperative buying group. At the time of the Walmart effect, let's say it was around $9 billion in buying power. But the perception of the consumer was that it was a lot cheaper. It was very hard for an independent, just like my grandmother, and not just appliances. It's furniture stores, lumber companies, jewelry stores, camera shops. It was very difficult, even though they would probably have their own cooperative buying groups. They would probably meet prices. They would be able to compete on price. The perception of the consumer felt that it was cheaper at these stores. At the same time, within a 25, 30-mile radius of Mrs. G's, Home Depot, Lowe's, Best Buy, all opened up at the same time, not just one store, 5 stores. So just about this time, the store really started to suffer. It wasn't growing, it wasn't thriving. And my grandmother, I was just getting my kids going into kindergarten, and my grandmother saw an opportunity before I go back to work and said, "Why don't you come into business with me?" let's get this business revived. Let's get this business going. And I said to my grandmother, the only way we're going to do this is we got to get products that are exclusive to us, that are not in the big box stores, and let's focus on those products. And we have to spend money into the store. She grew up in the Depression, so it was very, she didn't really see the need to invest in the store. And I told her, you need to do that. You need to, let's get this store up to par, get some beautiful displays in there, and make them live. Make them live. Get the chefs. I brought chefs in, and I brought the communities back into the store, and we actually were thriving. It worked. And we would do events for the community. We would have charitable events. This particular one was a chef cook-off. This is Chef Even from the Yardley Inn in Pennsylvania, and he was cooking against Chef Peter, who was from Rats in Hamilton. And there must have been about 150 people in the store. And Chef Even actually won the competition, and his secret ingredient was Trenton pork roll. So we thrived and thrived and thrived. And then what happened? The recession came. And my grandmother would say to me, not to worry, not to worry. We've been through all this recession. By that time, we were 70 years in business. My grandmother's seen a couple of recessions come and go. But she did not know the effects of online buying. And I told her, I'm scared. This online buying, it's growing really fast. And I could see people coming in the store doing the showrooming. And I was worried. Who would have ever thought that someone in New Jersey would buy appliances from a dealer in Chicago to send their purchases by truck back to New Jersey, and their appliance dealers within a mile from their home. But this was happening all over the country. And I could feel it in this store. And so I started this journey which started out as trying to save the store, but I actually became a crusader for independent businesses because I learned quite a bit from these two nonprofit organizations. So I discovered the American Independent Business Alliance, a nonprofit organization that has lots of information about the benefits of buying local. And the Institute for Local Self-Reliance is another nonprofit organization, but they're the technical arm. They're the ones that do all the research, all the data. And I found that they've been around for long enough that they had great information about what was happening all over the country. And I learned so much, but I'm going to give you three of the most important that I learned about shopping local. Because it's not so much about growing the independent businesses like Mrs. G's, but it's all about the benefits to you. What's the benefit to you for shopping at a store like mine? And this is the reason why. So, Institute for Local Self-Reliance comes up with this wonderful graph from all the research that they've done from communities from all over the country. And this is just about retail. So if the local economic return of independent businesses versus the chain, when you purchase something from an independent business like Mrs. G's, that money recirculates back to your local economy. 48% of that money recirculates back. When you purchase the same item from a chain retailer, only 13.6 comes back to the community. That's a big difference. When you buy that same product from that Chicago dealer, and you're not collecting the sales tax, nothing comes back to the community. Absolutely nothing. Charitable donations. Another statistic from my friends from Amoeba. Independent businesses actually donate twice as much per sales volume than a chain store. So we do so many charitable events at our store, and this is my favorite one. It's called Paint Our Refrigerators Pink. These are retired refrigerators, and some are new that just didn't work. And so I had kids come out and paint refrigerators to support the Susan G. Komen Foundation. But what I did is, I'm a big fan of the Trenton graffiti movement, and you're seeing there Leon Rainbow. And I invited Leon. Leon is just starting to get famous at the time. This was about 3 years ago. And I invited Leon Rainbow because I thought the kids would have fun painting with Leon. And it was such a good story. We raised a lot of money for Susan G. Komen. We raised a lot of awareness, especially for the children to understand the organization and learn about breast cancer awareness. But it got Leon on the front page of the newspaper. And here, we had a little competition online, and everybody voted, and this young lady won the competition. How cool is that? And this is, to me, the most important slide, again, from the Amoeba and the Institute of Local Self-Reliance. This is all about the jobs. Everybody's talking about creating jobs. When you spend $10 million to an independent retailer, that creates 57 jobs. If you spend $10 million with Amazon, it only creates 14 jobs. What a difference. I feel that I can feel it in my industry, in my cooperative buying group. We talk about the effects of the internet on our local businesses, and it's anywhere from 5 to 10%. Once we close that tax loophole and that money comes back into the community and can come back into that store, if I can actually grow my business by 10%, I can add 3 more people into my store, 3 more high-paying jobs in my store. And this, to me, is the most powerful. Rutgers did a study 3 years ago for the state of New Jersey. And the study said that there was approximately $300 million in uncollected sales tax. Only 1% of the consumer in New Jersey actually declares it on their New Jersey income tax. And so what does that mean? $300 million. New Jersey's always looking for ways to raise our taxes, to find more money. There it is, $300 million. Close that sales tax loophole, that internet sales tax loophole. Because what happens, that $300 million, some of it would have gone to the police and the fire and the municipality. Those are the people that are hurting. So there's a benefit directly to all of you to shopping at local businesses, but it's not just the retailers. It's not just Mrs. G. It's business to business. Think about all those services, the accountants, the IT individuals, the printers. Everything that I do, I think local, because it will support the community you live in. But I can't do it all myself. So let's get back to Amoeba, the American Independent Business Alliance. And what they have are tools for companies like myself to organize within the community these business alliances, because it's been proven with all the statistics, back to our friends at the IBA, that strong independent business alliances within your community brings money back. Those communities are thriving. And I was part of the stakeholders of the Independent Business Alliance of the Princeton Regional Chamber of Commerce, which is huge here in Princeton. And they saw the benefit for their own chamber to help their members. And so we'll be about a year old coming up in June, and it's been fantastic for everybody. Right here in Princeton is the Princeton Merchants Association. They've been doing their organization for more than 5 years. And you can see this town is vibrant with the support from there. And there's organizations all over the country. From our friends at Amoeba, these are strong, vibrant, independent business alliance groups that are bringing money back into their community. So I'm going to leave you with ask you for one last pledge. If we all can just shift our shopping 10%, if we can just shift our shopping 10%, we can actually bring back into our communities approximately $150 million a year and 1,000 jobs. So let's all take the pledge and revive our communities. Thank you.